everybody, and welcome back to the SUV Properties Podcast. My name is Caden, and this is Melanie. If you guys like what you guys are seeing here, please drop a like, comment if you have any questions or anything like that. If you guys love what you see, please subscribe, let other people know. Go to our website, suvproperties.com, to find more information and share with others the knowledge that we have for you. Today, we're here to talk about 28-day notices, right? 28-day notices are notifying the tenant that they're terminating the lease via the owner. And, why are they called a 28-day notice, right? Most months, obviously, except for February in most cases, have more than 28 days. So why do they call it a 28-day notice?
It's a great question. Even if you serve a 28-day notice and you are in a month that has 30 or 31 days, or the occasional February with 29 days, a 28-day notice is really a 30-day notice. But because of February, it's called legally a 28-day notice. It must be served on or before, preferably before the first day of the month. So the tenant is given the whole month to move. So even if you serve a 28-day notice and you want them to be out, we're going to pick on the month of May, you want them to be out in May, their lease terminates on May 31st, even if you serve a 28-day notice. And the other part about serving a 28-day notice is you have to serve that notice 7 days prior to the notice beginning. So if you must serve it on or before the first day of the month, and you have to post it, you have to email it, and you have to mail it. And the law says that you have 7 days for mailing. So you better be ready to mail that thing around the 21st of the prior month. Be safe. Put it in the mail on the 15th of each month, and you'll never have to worry about missing your dates for the 28-day notice. Because if you go to court over a 28-day notice for improper service, I can guarantee you will lose. Because as landlords, guess what we can never miss?
What can we never miss?
We can never miss a date. We can never not uphold every ounce of what is in our contract. But if you are a tenant, you can miss every date. You can show up in court without photos. You can say you didn't receive anything.
And still get a huge
and still win.
Leeway, yeah.
Right. But as a landlord, you got to be prepared to never miss your dates.
Agreed. Yeah. 100%. And so coming to a 28-day notice, obviously one of the biggest things that owners are looking for is occupancy, right? They're trying to keep occupancy. They're trying not to keep people out. So it kind of, brings a question, why serve a 28-day notice to a tenant?
Okay, there are a lot of reasons that owner serves a 28-day notice. Nuisance reports. The tenant is causing problems. They're disruptive in the neighborhood. If they're in a multiplex building, they're disturbing the other tenants. And yes, the landlord wants occupancy, but if the tenant is in an 8-plex or a 16-plex and they're disturbing all the other tenants that are there, and suddenly you're going to have 8 people that say, I went out of here unless you get rid of this one. You're trying to mitigate your damages and try to keep the other 7 people that are in that 8-plex by serving notice to the one. Then you can calm everybody else down knowing that you've served the one person the 28-day notice. And then the biggest reason owners serve a 28-day notice is they want to sell.
Yeah.
So in order to sell your building, or whether it's to an owner-occupant, and then you're going to do rehab and put it for sale on the market, or you're selling it to another investor. An investor may put together an offer, and this says, I want to bring my own tenant in, and they want your tenant gone. So those are the big reasons that people serve 28-day notices, is because they have a different game plan for their building, or they're mitigating some sort of damages.
Yeah, longer term. And as you guys will see with the podcast video that we come out with here in the next couple of weeks, 84th Street was exactly that. We had a tenant move out. We're going to plan on doing an owner occupant. So we still got a tenant in the upper. It's a duplex. And the lower, they vacated, and now we're going to rehab and sell to an owner occupant. So it's a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
now what happens when you serve a 28-day notice and they don't move?
It's a great question. Then you start the fun process of trying to get them out, right?
The next step is an eviction process when somebody holds over. You don't have to go through the normal 5-day process because you've already served the 28-day. So now you're evicting for holding over. In theory, the rent is now double because they've held over and they're violating their lease termination. Getting a court to actually uphold your double damages, at this point, as a landlord or a property management company, you are really, again, moving into loss mitigation, because if your plan was to sell or you had an offer to purchase that required that tenant to be out and now you can't close, you have to be very quick on your feet to figure out, how do I negotiate with someone who doesn't want to be negotiated with to move them out of your property? Another thing you can consider when serving a 28-day notice is if you have multiple properties and you're going to sell one and the tenant's been a good tenant, try to move them somewhere else first so that you can soften the blow. Tenants don't like to be served notice to move. They have no trouble serving us notice when they want to move, or just disappearing into the woodwork without serving any notice. But if you serve them a notice, get ready for your phone to ring off the hook. How dare you do this to me? So be a little detailed in your letter. Tell them you're selling it. Tell them you've sold it. Call them in advance. Tell them that you have to put it to them in writing, because if you don't put it to them in writing, it does not exist. For the most part, an email communication of a 28-day notice is not sufficient. It won't hold up in court. Posting it on their door without mailing it also won't hold up in court. So once again, the onus always falls on the landlord.
Yeah.
To be the big boy in the room and do the right thing.
Yeah, agreed. And like you said, that's another big advantage of using a property manager is, we have a couple hundred properties at our disposal to move them into another one. If you're doing it yourself, you might not have a bunch of properties or open doors where you can, where we might have one that's just coming up, and not only can we make this owner happy, we're making this tenant happy, and it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody. So
if you are an independent owner not working with a property management company and you decide you're going to serve a 28-day notice because you're going to sell and you're going to do repairs, join a local chapter of other property owners that maybe they get together once a month, network with other property owners, so that if you have a good tenant and you want to help out, you can call up a buddy of yours and say, hey, I got to serve this person notice. Do you have any vacancies? So you can be preemptive in moving them along to somebody else's, because a good tenant appreciates that. And maybe they'll be a good tenant for somebody else, and then maybe when your friend wants to do the same thing, they'll think about you and move their good tenant in your direction as well.
Exactly, and you don't, then in the long run, you're mitigating that vacancy, and you're having to do a lot less work, because one of the biggest hassles can be getting a great tenant in there. So it kind of works out full circle like that.
You bet. Thank you for joining us on the 28-day notice. I know this was a very short video, but there are some nuances in how you serve it and why you serve it. So if you have more questions, please email us at suvproperties.com. We'd be happy to answer your questions, and we look forward to chatting with you next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.